We are live. Melinda, the show is yours. Melinda?
Melinda, make sure you unmute yourself.
Melinda, you're muted.
Thank you. I didn't know I was muted. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. Please make sure you log on to our app if you haven't already done that. We get credit for our organization when everybody logs in, and we use our credits to get the speakers their gifts, mugs and or t-shirts. Want to make a special welcome to the Prince William County 1 Million Cups who have joined us today. Both Rod Lodges and Danelle started this group as a result of that group, and we're really grateful to you. Also, there are a number of you from the Manassas 1 Million Cups. I noticed Janae, and I think there was somebody else here. Wanted to welcome all of you. And we are an entrepreneurial community and education organization. Our mission is to lower the access to education, also resources and connections for everybody. So everybody is eligible. Next slide, please. Our the key pillars are that these are presentations. They're not sales pitches, and with a lot of authenticity. It's so that we can help our presenters build their business. Next slide, please. Our culture is safe and supportive, and we're all volunteers, and whatever happens here, happens here. It doesn't get repeated. Next slide. We have 160 organizations around the country that all meet at the same time, but what's really nice about that is if you really wanted to attend another group, there is a time difference, so you could hit the Central, the Mountain, and the Pacific time. And we're a mastermind group. And again, as I said, we're a very safe group. Nobody is to be sharpshooted, and we're very supportive of everybody. Next slide, please. We couldn't do this without all of our organizers. This is a new slide, so we can showcase everybody, and we all want to thank the organizers as well as all of you for being here today. Next slide. Our two sponsors are Office Evolution and John Yu. Do you want to say a few words, and then I'll come back and I'll get John Gaskin. John?
Yep, let me unmute. I was looking for the unmute button. Thank you, everyone. It's great to see everybody this morning. I'm John Yu with Office Evolution. We are a shared office space provider located right here in Tyson's Corner. So building behind me is our building. We provide fully furnished private office as well as a number of flexible virtual office solutions such as business address and meeting room spaces. And because we're a locally owned business, we have a strong interest to seeing our business community grow and flourish. And so we partner with and support 1 Million Cups and other business organizations. If you like to learn more about Office Evolution or how we help businesses grow, like yourself grow, please feel free to reach out. I'll leave my information in the chat box as well. Thank you.
Terrific. John Gaffigan.
Hi, Melinda. I did get myself off mute, so I don't have to be yelled at. I'm the president of a group called White Cap Cleaning. That's one of my ventures that I do on behalf of some others within the green tech and sustainability space. Everything I do is about a greater good, win-win for the client, the environment, ourselves. And I did post up there my LinkedIn profile, anybody that'd like to get in touch with me. The franchise we have from Whitecap is a Pittsburgh company called Bactronics, which has been around since 2011. And it's a science-based approach to non-toxic deep disinfecting to make your facilities safer for people to want to come back in. We do not get in the way of existing disinfecting protocols. We enhance what you're doing today. And I'd welcome chatting with any of you folks more. And here I'm having my coffee for all you guys. And thank you again for the opportunity to be with you.
Thank you. Next slide, please. A little bit of quick housekeeping. First of all, make sure everybody is on mute. When it comes time to ask questions, Justin Wilson is our moderator. You need to use the hand wave icon, and you can also send Justin a message if you want, or put your question into the chat. And then once you're done talking, please make sure you put your mic back on. Next slide, please. I want to welcome Tom Lone. Oops. I want to welcome John Lone to the meeting, and he is with DrakeWise Productions. He is also a U.S. Marine Corps vet. Let's all welcome John. Tom, sorry.
Thanks all for having me. Very nice to be here. I assume this is my time. This is my time to shine here. So yeah, let's jump right into it. Let's just start with the end. Where can we find and inspire people to invest in our narrative movies? I spent a lot of time actually kind of dialing in, like, what is the question? What is the question? And then taking it a step back. It's like, is it clients? It's not that, it's not that, it's not that. And really, we had to be honest with ourselves. What is it that we're actually trying to do to solve a problem? And this is where it boils down. A little bit about us. We're in the early feature investment stage. There's really no secret that Hollywood films cost millions of dollars. Video production is costly. Professional equipment is expensive. Skilled experts are required, and there are hundreds of specialized jobs to fill. We started out, offering video services for events, advertisement, social media content, music videos, short films, and feature films internationally. And so, utilizing high-end custom equipment that we actually built ourselves, we can deploy Hollywood quality portable studios rapidly with minimal to no additional cost. That's what we started out with 2 years ago. We've already been filming for over 14 years in over 22 different countries. So once we actually started launching with our first commercial ad, we've scaled and grown from there. Last year, we did 6 shorts and 2 features, one of which actually sold to Lionsgate. This year, we had our first series of film awards, and along with that feature sale. So we're kind of rapidly growing momentum. And while we do scale horizontally and vertically in all of these other spaces, B2B kind of sales, what we're really focused on next is next year's first multi-million-dollar movie featuring A-list talent. Who are our customers? It's not the end user. It's not the people who sit at home watching movies on Netflix, as I'm sure we've all been doing during the pandemic, but really our customers are the movie distributors. These are the people who are paying us. These are the people who are actually buying the product. The hierarchy goes horror, documentary, action, and adventure, comedy, holiday, drama, and family. Horror at the top. I'm not a big horror fan. I'm not gonna lie. That's actually what we sold last year, because it does sell. But we do want to start focusing on more creative, artistic content. We're partnering with a few very big companies who could actually be considered our competition. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So a little bit more about our customers. I think this is just across the board. We have their pains, gains, the jobs that they're trying to accomplish. But let's go ahead and go to the next slide, please. I think we can come back to to those. But I wanted to point out who our competitors are. And right now we're we're competing with backyard indies because we are an indie production company. We're not Hollywood studio. So we're like one step away from hitting the big time here. But now we have to compete with big Hollywood, let's say Hollywood indie production companies such as A24 and Crystal City Entertainment. However, with Crystal City Entertainment, we are partnering with their executive producer, Ari Pinchot, and trying to produce their next feature film, which I won't get into. I think that's a whole pitch in and of itself, but that is the multi-million-dollar feature film. Sorry, you can hear my coworkers in the background, my kids. Right, so what makes us unique? We were able to go to market with custom production equipment. While all these things kind of, the Hollywood films cost millions of dollars, we actually bring together skilled video production contractors under one banner. But by providing them with professional equipment, industry training, and corporate resources, they can provide clients in high quality video production at extremely affordable and very competitive prices. So we've managed to unite small creative companies, removing competition, facilitating growth, and nurturing healthy and sustainable economy, while providing customers with the very best quality possible. So that's what really makes us unique. We kind of found this nice little wedge into the market space, both vertically and horizontally. So it's very, very unique in that, and just the model and how we operate. And then of course we all know with the advent of things like YouTube, people's expectations have dropped. Quality has dropped. Now we're living in an age where everybody has access to a 4K camera in their pocket, and they think that, hey, I can do this. I can go out and I can make great content. And while I would encourage that, I would encourage everybody to do that. It doesn't take anything. It doesn't take specialized equipment. Like I said, I'm lighting myself with a window right now, and I apologize for the crying in the background. But it doesn't take a whole lot of crazy equipment to make this stuff work. It definitely takes a well-trained eye and coordinated crew, highly specialized technicians to make this happen. So it really kind of boils down to where we're stuck right now. We need to employ people again. We need to get people back into the workforce. Hollywood is shut down. So our problem becomes, where can we find and inspire new investors to fund our narrative movies, to fund our narrative content? This is a real challenge because right now movie investor money is frozen in escrow accounts. We're actually in the same problem. We have $1.5 million frozen in an escrow account, ready to make this film, but we can't raise the remaining funds. And that escrow account is frozen until we have those remaining funds. So it's kind of like a chicken or the egg kind of problem with everybody. Once we have one piece, then everything starts flowing and movies can start being made again. But I think that does it for my time. Was I on time? How's that for a question?
Great job.
Great presentation, Thomas. All right, so if you guys have any questions, please raise your hand in the chat, and I will go ahead. Oh, looks like Jen Dalton has a question. Go ahead, Jen.
Tom, great presentation. I confess I am a binge watcher of movies, so I love the idea of narrative movies. I know from a funding standpoint, for a lot of the shorts, I've seen some people reach out and do sort of Indiegogo campaigns, right? Where if you invest a certain dollar amount, you can be listed as, contributor, director, etc. You can go to the sort of virtual premiere. Have you considered doing that type of funding? Or when you think of funding, what are some good examples that can show the range that you're trying to consider as far as crazy ideas?
Oh, that's actually that's a great question. Thank you. So some of the crazy ideas, I would say, actually start with the crowdfunding campaign and trying to hype the movie before it even gets made. So there's the crowdfunding things, but unfortunately, they're not. When you're talking about raising millions of dollars, they don't have the leverage to get there. But it's a good start, and then people start to talk about it a little bit more and more. Then after that, we've considered other crazy ideas like fiscal sponsors, partnering with 501(c)s, and telling maybe narrative content with a powerful underlying message. And for me, that's actually one of the most critical messages that I can tell. One of the critical mission statements that I actually try to add into every project that we do. There's always kind of like this underlying deeper meaning. So all of our award-winning films that have actually come out had that attached to it. I think those are at least a couple of the options that have are at least relatively successful and kind of out there. Not direct funding, if that makes any sense. Do you have any other suggestions?
And I was thinking more, it sounds like for narrative movies, and what I think I heard you say was that where movies have a potential to be sponsored by a brand where the narrative is similar, the story is similar, or for a horror movie going out to the big Halloween businesses or, candy businesses, whatever, right? Where there's alignment between narrative message, that sounds like you might be reaching out to look for higher dollar investors from the business standpoint. So then the question would just be, how do you find them and get your foot in the door? And then you talked about 501(c)(3)s. Is that more of a portion of the sales will go back to the charity? Because nonprofits don't usually have that sort of funding to go into a movie. So is that what you're envisioning on the 501(c)(3) front?
That's correct. That's correct. We call them fiscal sponsors. And thank you, Jen. I actually think that having sponsors is a great idea as far as having a tied prerogative, if especially if there's like physical product or something like that, or if a similar message. But with the 501(c)(3)s, there's a couple ways of doing it. There's one that's kind of like an upfront kind of fundraising opportunity where the fundraiser percentage of the fundraiser will go to the 501(c)(3), and then the other portion will go towards they'll give us a percentage to fund the film. And then the other way is to give them royalties effectively on the back end, allow them to participate in profit sharing portion, or a combination of those two.
Great. So next we have Chris Pendon, then Tony Barnett, Tom Ryerson, and then I'm Linda. I think I saw you raise your hand in there. So go ahead, Chris.
Mute
Chris.
yourself.
Chris, you're muted.
Go ahead.
Come back to Chris.
Okay, so what I was thinking of when I saw this was the movie, or I have an app for the Chosen. It's a story of the life of Jesus Christ. They have an app, and it can fundraise through the app. Have you considered something like that? You have some big fans that you would. Well, Jen discussed crowdfunding, but that was the first thing that popped in my head.
No, I haven't considered that. Thank you. That's actually a great idea.
Just check out the App Store for The Chosen. You can check it all out.
Well, thank you.
Okay, Tony, if you'd like to ask your question.
So this goes back to what you were talking about before about a lot of the funders are not funding anything because of COVID and the lockdowns and stuff. Is there any one specific reason that's prohibiting it? The reason why I ask is that I know that there are some big productions that are working. I found out just the other day that right now there's a movie called Red Notice that's filming right now in the McLean area. And that's the new Rock movie, and big all-star cast. And they've been apparently in production since back in May. So is it, for the smaller, for the type of films that you're doing, is there a specific reason why the financiers are not interested in doing anything, or any one thing that's prohibiting them from putting out money or actually putting out product? Because I imagine during this time period, there's been a massive amount of creativity with people locked at home, coming up and writing scripts and coming up with ideas.
Right. The question being, is there one thing in particular? I don't think it's ever that simple. I don't think it's just that black and white. I think it's kind of like a series of things amalgamating together. But I think that is a really good, hard-hitting question. Is there one thing that, is there a linchpin?
Yeah. Is there something that's, just prohibiting them beyond just a lockdown? Because right now, there's a lot of investment going on, a lot of people that I know, people who are investors who are looking for things to invest in that they know taking advantage of this situation are going to be in demand. Now, maybe they're looking at that once people come out of this, there may not be demand for Netflix anymore. Because we've, as the joke is, yes, I've watched all of Netflix. But there's always going to be interesting content. And with all the new content providers coming online, I would imagine that investors are looking for things to invest in, to produce all over the place.
Yeah, thank you. You're right, and actually, I don't foresee Netflix going away after this, because we've watched all of Netflix. Well, if we don't actually produce more content, there's a high demand. They're scrambling to fill these portions, so it is a great time to invest. But you know what? I think it's a personal issue then. It relies within us, because if you see these investors out there, I don't. I have reached the end of my Rolodex, but these are movie investors. So, and I think that is the question. If you know of these people who would be interested in getting involved in this great opportunity. Sorry, I'm not trying to pitch it like that, but it really is. Like this is a great time to move.
Yeah, I know a lot of business investors. I don't know that many people who, invest in movies. I think that they all sit there and look back to the movie, the producers, and think, well, nah, maybe not.
maybe not. Yeah, traditionally speaking, movies are high risk, high reward kind of things. However, partnering with R.A. Pinchot, they've made some very successful indie films. Ides of March, George Clooney, Ryan Gosling, those kinds of movies that they're doing very well. Sorry, and I'm going to try to keep this brief, but answer the question. If they are business investors, I think maybe one of the misconceptions is that these are just kind of products that a studio or a movie house might turn out and then sell. And I guess you could think of it that way, but each movie itself is actually centered around its own company. So it's very much like a startup. Each one is a startup, and we are a startup incubator that incubates these movies and gets them to a point where they will be profitable. And so if they're familiar with business investing, this is kind of right up their alley.
Awesome. So next we have Talmar Anderson, then Melinda, and then John Gaffigan. So go ahead, Talmar.
Hey, Thomas, thanks so much for the presentation. I really appreciate it. I think I'm coming from the place of undereducated, we'll call it. I am a devout movie fan and enthusiast, but as far as understanding why someone would invest in a movie, I am at a huge deficit, right? I know that you had a slide or two, which we went through very quickly, so I was still trying to capture it. I think that where you could be best served, because I think you've touched on it a couple times, is going outside of your regular pool to find new opportunities for investors. And what that means is you have to have the storylines and the understanding of the value to the investor. So I think my question is, when it comes to investing in a movie, you know, I can see a few motivations. One, there's the ego. I want to be attached to a successful movie. There's the mission. I want everyone to know, you know, The Chosen's a great mission-driven thing that people want to be a part of to get a message spread out, right? Or is it, you know, awareness on a cause? The story supports a cause. Why do people invest in movies? Is it straight profitability? Because if that's the case, then what you're going to want to do is start making your presentations and your messaging about the metrics and the possibilities of the profit side, just like a business. But I suspect that historically investing is got that personal feed off of it, right? Like we all contribute to charity because it makes us feel better, right? And we pick a charity that we are aligned with. So what is a traditional motivation for an investor in an indie film? Or is it just to be excited and be Hollywood adjacent? And that's okay, but I'm just curious.
Thank you. I think you hit the nail on the head, right? To answer the question, you already answered the question. Actually, you're right. There's several motivating factors, and I think the two big ones are, one, ego, and ego. I think it's, you know, it's sexy, it's cool, people want to be involved. It is cool. That's why I got into it. I was a physicist before this, a Marine before that. You know, I left that to work in movies. It's awesome. Make no mistake, it's a lot of hard work, but so yeah, but there is a little bit of ego. Yeah, we want to be cool, you know, walk down the red carpet and have the name and lights. So that's a big one, sure. The personal aspect, the personal touch, and then but there are a lot of really good metrics that I think we offer. So thank you. I think we'll try to focus on that.
Yeah, but if it is the ego, then that's the positioning, right? I didn't hear how you could be a part of this team and this movement, and you want to really, my recommendation is focus that message about this is an opportunity for you to have a piece of that lifestyle, right? And I think that if you know that that's the motivator, then getting your presentation to tap into that storytelling, right, is going to be huge.
Thank you. I think that's actually great advice. There are alternatively just incredibly massive ROIs involved with these things, so they are really good investments.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. Good luck.
Thank you so much. That was excellent advice.
Great question. All right, Melinda, you are next.
Excellent presentation, Tom.
Oh, thank you.
I want to take Jen's idea to another level of looking at it, because I was thinking in those terms. I've worked for companies like Timex, you know, and they wanted to get their watches in, or Vidal Sassoon or whatever. But what I was thinking, and where I found low-hanging fruit, as I describe it, when I switched to the agency side and the sponsorship side, is go after the agencies. So when you get a new movie that you're working on, have somebody go through it, look for different types of products and services that might be seen in the movie, and then go pitch the agency, because right now agencies are starving for good content and things to put campaigns around. And it's a really great opportunity to say, okay, I want to go to Darcy or whatever, or Gray, to pitch that brand, and then find out who, if you don't know, have a contact there. My old secret was to go to the president's or the CEO's office and say, who do I need to talk to in your organization? I'd usually get their admin. And with that, I would then call the other person and say, I was speaking to XYZ's office and they suggested I get in touch with you. And I got appointments right away. I got to speak to whoever I needed to speak to. The car industry, I mean, a lot of your movies have cars. Cars are looking at, the whole automotive industry is looking at things. I think if you take your script and then just really think about what brands might be in there, it gives, and it's enough in advance so that they can build a whole campaign around it, because the movie probably won't come out for a year or more. And that's how agencies work, way in advance. So that was one thought. The other thing that I really like that you said is that you're a startup incubator for business investing, and it's also for investing in the brand. So maybe taking and repitching some of the things that you're doing with that brand of a startup incubator. And these are so that folks that are going to contribute money to the movie, they can get in at the, you know, the ground level and really have some nice things happen with their monies.
Thank you. Wow, that is absolutely great advice. Quick shout out to Rod Rodriguez for that golden nugget of wisdom with the startup incubator thing. Melinda, I would love to be able to talk with you a little bit more about that if that's possible. I think that you had some really great advice, and I'd like to pick your brain if we could.
You're on, definitely.
Thank you.
All right, John Gaff again with your question. Looks like Jen has another question after him. So go ahead, John.
Okay, well, first of all, Talmer took a lot of the wind out of my sails, but I put my hand up and I'm going to stick with it, and I've pivoted. So a couple of quick comments. Number one, you mentioned a movie that had sold. I think we'd all benefit by knowing what movie did sell, so we can look it up on IMDb and maybe even watch it if it's on some streaming service, get a little feel for how you guys operate. That's part one. Part two is, outside of investor money, what other gaps do you have, you know, chinks in the armor you're trying to patch up as you guys expand?
Wow. Okay, hard-hitting question there. Great, thank you. Yes, let me follow up with the entire group, and I can send out links for those other film projects. I'd love to share them. For chinks in the armor, as we expand, we're expanding both vertically and horizontally. Recently, we've been expanding horizontally, which is great. That's kind of the thing that makes us unique in breaking down competition and creating a united front. The chinks in the armor there are kind of a slow roll. We're slow rolling on projects because as we try to expand, we have to spend a lot of time training. And then I think as far as making, I'm trying to, wow. I'm stumbling here because like it's like, how do we pinpoint those other answers? I wasn't prepared for this. You caught me off guard. Thank you.
No, and I'm not looking to squeeze you. I figure, and if you want to think about it as a follow-up, to think about other areas that we could be of service. It wasn't meant to be like a Nightline kind of prison shiv type question or anything like that.
No, I actually appreciate it. Really, thank you. And thanks for the offer. I appreciate the opportunity for you to give me the opportunity to be like, hey, there's other issues going on. Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Jen, I think you had another question in the chat, and then it looks like Rick Vosberg also has a question after Jen. So go ahead, Jen, if you want to read your question.
John looks friendly, but you got to watch out for him. Just kidding, John. A few questions maybe that would help clarify. One is there a specific type of film, length of film, etc., that you specialize in? And two, are you finding, like, we talk a lot about lean startups. So if you were going to do a film to see if it could find and raise funding, should it be a small short story film so that you can get a sense of what the process should be, how it should work, so you're not testing on a $20 million film, but you're really testing on a $500,000 film? So that's sort of one question. And I think another one that would help clarify too is, where are you filming, or is location an issue? And the reason I ask that, coming from Georgia, I have a lot of pride in the movie industry in Georgia, although Georgia is a little bit iffy sometimes. But from up here, like, if you are location focused, like if you, for example, wanted to film in Virginia, could you work with economic development authorities or sort of statewide business related groups that could help you find funding if it is location based? Because that could be a pretty big difference. Maybe somebody pays to have their film, shot in their, Reston Town Center or their city or their area. So if you could speak a little bit to what kind of films are really the best for you to do, and if those have to shift or change. And then is location a way to consider doing fundraising?
Absolutely. And actually, I'm going to start with the second question. Great questions. Thank you, by the way. These are wonderful clarifying questions. So let me start with the second. There are what are called incentives. And these film incentives allow us to go to someplace like Georgia, and they will give us like a tax incentive and things like that to go film there. In fact, the movie that we're working on with Ari takes place in Jerusalem. So, you know, we have the opportunity to pre-sell their territory, for example, and things like that with their distributors. So yes, these are options, and these are definitely things that we consider with each film is location. It's not a prohibitive factor, it's actually a motivator. And then as far as the first question, the films that we do, it's not really, well, I guess there is a little bit of length involved, but we're more genre specific, more genre focused. We focus on drama and psychological thrillers that kind of bridge in that gap. They kind of fall in that area, as well as action. I say this, although we did do 2 horrors last year. Now, for those shorts, actually the intention of a lot of them is to test a product and see how well received it is and see if we can build something bigger out of it. We often call that a sizzle. So we'll create sizzle reels, turn them into short films, try to win awards with them, build some hype and momentum with that, and see if we can turn around and sell that. But then as a quick add-on, short films don't sell. They're good. They're good for the portfolio in many ways, but distributors don't buy them.
All right, Rick Bosberg, you want to read your question?
Yeah, Thomas, this is all very interesting to me. As I said in my question, I come from a technology company, and I was wondering, we've done some consulting to organizations like yourself that have digital, I'll call them a digital warehouse using the cloud. You mentioned you have state of the art. Is that part of your current setup?
No, it's part of our archive. So we still have the capabilities to create custom assets, but our parent company actually started out as a tech company.
Cool. So I was kind of intrigued. I hadn't thought about it. You talked about everybody having, the camera capability and creating content, and it seemed to me that you guys are that's kind of your bread and butter, taking a lot of content and creating a story. And here, you're talking about how you fund and move forward. And given the pandemic and the current environment, nonprofits can't work the way they used to work to fundraise. You can't get a crowd of people together. Companies have the same issues, be it sales or whatever. So the second part of my question becomes, have you explored that idea of helping organizations sell their cause like you're trying to do, of generating funding to run their business?
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. Thank you. That's fantastic. First off, thank you for everybody. I want to touch base with everybody after this. I'm like, but I am trying to keep it short so everybody has a chance. Rick, nail on the head. We have focused more on these in the past. But yeah, I think that's just a great idea. But I'm going to leave it at that, and then let's touch base later because I want to leave enough time. Thank you.
Sure.
Awesome. Jen, looks like you had a statement down or excuse me. Yeah, looks like Jen had a statement, and then Jim had a question as well. So Jen, I don't know if you want to read your statement. And then
Go
Jim.
ahead, Jim. I'll just keep putting chats in the comments. Everybody else, please do that so we can keep notes for Tom for later.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim, if you'd like to ask your question.
Sure, Tom. Just like you mentioned that the Hollywood is dried up, have you approached or thought about going after any venture capitals that are investing in businesses and startups? Because, they're pretty dried up as far as opportunities right now, and maybe looking ways to diversify their funds. And then to tag into some ideas of some people that mentioned earlier that my brain was going around, if they're a venture capital firm that is investing in some startups that are, sort of stale but have great ideas, if you could somehow integrate them into your movies, like the branding, like the cars and everything else, they've got the funds to expand that and sort of help you through that, where the startup obviously doesn't have the funds. So it's just something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. If you have any more advice on that one, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, give me a call offline and, we'll talk about it. I was with one of the big firms, accounting firms, during the whole .com boom. So it was crazy times, but there's a lot of venture capital firms in this area, in the DC area. So I'll give you some tidbits on it.
I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome. So Tony, I think, Tony has a question, and go ahead, Tony.
Okay, Tom, there have been some great ideas, and one of the things that just popped in my head is, have you ever made a training film or training video on how to become a film investor?
No, I have not.
I think if you put that together and start putting that out on Facebook and LinkedIn and all sorts of other places where it gets shared around, it can be a funny video, it can be serious, it could be whatever you want to put it. But all the things that, all the topics you've been discussing, put that together in kind of like a training video where you're just sitting there and this is how you become an investor. And this is who you go to. This is what you do. This is how you get your lawyers involved. This is, who are the companies that you seek out. And you just put it out there as anybody can invest in a movie. And it goes back to, the producer's comment that I made earlier. But seriously, the way you've been talking, anybody can be an investor. You just have to have the desire and have the passion to go ahead and invest in the project, right?
100%. That is an amazing idea. Thank you. Great.
Okay, cool. Just thought to put something together and start pushing it out.
I hear Nathan Lane screaming right now.
Exactly. Yeah. But I hope it doesn't end well. If you get a hit, then you have to account for it all.
Yeah,
all
I
right.
think that's the horror story.
There you go.
Tom, I want to step back a little bit and just really understand your why. Why did you get into this business, and what brought you to where you are now? In a quick 30 seconds.
I don't think we have the time for that. My personality type. I like a good challenge. And it's also kind of like a lifestyle choice. The things that I've pursued in my life are the things that I am passionate about and the things that I feel will challenge me the most. One of the questions that I often ask myself is, if I had $1 million, or if money wasn't an option, or if it wasn't an issue, what would I be doing? And I go pursue those things.
Thanks.
Great answer. We're gonna stick with Donnell with the final question. I know he just asked you one, but Donnell, if you like to ask Tom the final question.
We still got a little bit of time if there's some people that have other questions.
Okay.
This has been wonderful. Thank you, folks.
It looks like Nancy has not to cut you off. Nancy does
Great
have a
insight.
question for you.
Hi, yes, a squirrel just tried to come in the window, so I'm a little distracted. This is an embryonic idea that kind of relates to many of the other really great ideas out there. You might, instead of trying to raise funds for a particular movie, do a la Rick Perry and have a raise funds for a movie studio. And since you are trying to do many kinds of projects, that incubator idea fits right into that. So unfortunately, since I got distracted, I could not get the rest of my thoughts together. That's as good as it gets for now.
Nancy, thank you. No, that actually, that's a wonderful idea. Maybe we can chat a little bit more about those when we're
And
not
I
dealing with
said-
squirrels.
Yeah, I said Rick Perry. I meant Tyler Perry, obviously. I've been watching too much news.
Gotcha. Okay.
Looks like Melinda has a question as well.
Oh, I think
You're on.
we're on
Yeah.
mute.
Yep, you're muted, Melinda. Melinda. You're muted. I think she can hear us.
Thank you. I'll start again. I'm sorry. I thought I unmuted. One of the other thoughts was that you could go to other writers and producers who did that in the past and they have money that they can invest. My cousin was a movie producer and a writer back in the 50s and 60s. She's in her 80s today, and she invests in a lot of things. And I really like Nancy's last thought, because if you invested, let's say, in who you guys are with many kinds of products, a lot of these folks that are involved in a lot of these organizations had small parts of the industry way back when, and they've watched the industry grow, and I'm sure they would leave money to and or support a lot of the things that you're doing, because it's very exciting. And even going back to the same thing that I said earlier, the startup incubator for people in the industry too, where they get seen and heard and they can grow as well as the investors. So that might be another path. And if you're interested, I can actually talk to my cousin and find out if there's any way to reach a bunch of them.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great idea, and I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Tom, can you speak just real quick? Because I'm not sure where you pick up in the process. Are you getting a script that then you go shoot, or is there a place for people to submit scripts and vote? I'm just trying to think of different ways to engage investors or bring them along the journey, whether it's, you know, a person or a business, etc.
Absolutely. Good question. We typically don't do script hunting. I think a lot of times it just kind of it either comes to us or we go out seeking like a spec script. If that, we already have like kind of the idea and the vision in mind. And then there's like a lot, we have in-house writers. So we can actually kind of spec that out here. As far as the process, I think that's a really great question, you know, where to involve the investors along the road. I think there might be multiple opportunities there. Thank you. Good question.
One
Did that
other
answer the
group,
question?
yeah, no, that was perfect. One other group to consider might be even of your writers or for you, you know, alma maters and schools usually they have a huge alumni base. You could even reach out, because part of this is just getting reach and visibility. Like Georgetown has a media entertainment group, and you know, the Exorcisters, the Exorcist, right? So if horror is the genre, one of the genres that your company likes, I know that you don't, I'm not a horror fan either, but you know, maybe it'd be worth thinking about, if it's about reach and visibility, could you engage universities or media groups that have already shown an interest in the genres you are really skilled at, and reach out just to get visibility that way? Because you never know on the alum board or the alumni group who is there that might be interested in investing.
Great idea. Thank you.
Great. So now I'd like to send it back to Donnell. Donnell, if you can ask the final question.
Tom, first of all, thank you for a great presentation. Thank you for choosing 1 Million Cups as a platform to help you solve your issue, opportunity, or challenge. This was great information today. My question to you is, what can our 1 Million Cups community do for you?
Well, first off, thank you for having me. I think this is it. I think this is, the perfect opportunity to ask the hard-hitting questions and really make sure that I'm asking ourselves the right questions. So I think John had, he had asked, what are the other chinks in your armor? And I think those were the questions that we were asking at first, like, how do we solve this problem? How do we solve this problem? It's like, no, well, can we walk it back even further? What's lying underneath that? And so just by asking the challenge question, just that alone and having the opportunity to field it in front of a lot of people, which was actually great. And then also that kind of exposure, being this vulnerable and being this honest is actually very helpful. So not only do I have to be honest with you about where we are, I have to be honest, with ourselves about where we are. So I'm moving forward. I would like to say that I would actually like to talk with you more about this, maybe on an individual or email level, but I would really appreciate that. Thank you. I think there are a lot of great ideas.
Absolutely. Make sure that you save the chat and really, touch base with the members of this community. They truly want to help you out. And so thanks again. We hope to see you back next week as a member of the audience, giving the same type of feedback that you got today. I want to kick it over to Tony Barnett.
Hello. Okay. So I think this is back to Melinda, but we want to thank you for everything. We have some upcoming events coming up, and I think, Melinda, if you want to take over and go through what we have coming up.
Perfect. And again, thank you, Tom. We are fueled by our being an entrepreneurial organization and being able to help other entrepreneurs. So if any of you have not presented yet, we'd like you to apply to be one of our presenters. And if you have any questions about this, please talk to any of us that are here to help you today. Coming up, next slide is next week, Honeydew with John Partridge. The week after is Common Sense Coffee. And then in October, we're open. So please get your applications in so that we can have some of you start presenting. Next slide, please. Upcoming events. And I know we got a lot of these events up here, but if anybody has any others, we have on the 24th, a Zoom event with the women's suffrage. The fight continues. We've got on the 24th and at 6:30 p.m. a Zoom event engaging, encouraging, and retaining women. And as you guys can see, there are a number of other events that are listed up there. Does anybody have any more that they would like to share with us?
Can I chime in?
Please.
Yeah, with Zems Events. We are creating and curating the Prince William Chamber Mega on Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's all virtual, zemsevents.com/PW Chamber. And then I also have a pop-up, a midweek pop-up on September 30th, which is just for small businesses to showcase their products and services to the community. So once again, that's virtual, zemsevents.com is that one. Thank you.
Thank you. Russ, are you here? Did we miss anything from Gentle Fairfax, or anything else that you might know about?
This week is the Fairfax City Restaurant Week, and if you can engage in any of the restaurants here in Fairfax City, it would be well appreciated, especially during this COVID time. We really need the support from everyone. Also, this week we have a DC Fempreneur event that's going to help with boosting your visibility in this challenging time. That's tomorrow, as well as the Chamber of Commerce is hosting Steve Black. He's helping your workspace and in this world of COVID. Everything's COVID related. And then the Small Business Administration is doing the Small Business Week is next week, the 22nd through the 24th.
Thank you, Russ.
Thanks.
Next slide. Oh, maybe it's not there. There it is. We are sponsored by Kaufman Foundation, and we couldn't be there without them. They really like to support the communities with entrepreneurs and education, and we are thankful for them and for being able to put all of us together here today. And we hope you guys come back next week, Wednesday, same time. Thanks for coming.
Thank you all again.
Thanks again, Tom. And I just want to give a quick shout out to 1 Million Cups Prince William for joining us today. It was great having you guys all log in. We got to do more events like this. On top of that, if you want to be a presenter, if you're a business that wants to get the same type of support that Tom did today, please go to the #1millioncups.com/Fairfax and apply to present. We will definitely take care of you. We'll make sure that your presentation looks as beautiful as this one and set you up for success. Again, thank you everybody for coming out. You're more than welcome to hang out for a little bit until we end our festivities today, but thank you everyone for joining. Please put your information in the chat. That way Tom and others can be in touch with you. Have a great day.
I was going to say, it's like an E.F. Hutton commercial on the post wrap up. Nobody's prepared to speak. Tom, I'm definitely going to reach out to you, Tom Bloom, and figure out ways we may collaborate. Anybody else here that wants to reach out to me? I'm the only John Gaffigan in the DC area. You'll find me a black and white photo on LinkedIn. And again, if you haven't been to these before, Tom, I'll say unapologetically that everybody's got a servant's heart mindset to pitch in. And so we'd love to have you come back.
No, thanks again, John. I really do appreciate it, actually. So I wish I had said this when more people were in here, but Donnell, you're asking if there's anything you folks could do. Please let me know if there's anything we can do. If you need help getting your message out there, or for the individuals in here, or the events or whatever it might be, please let me know. I'd love to help out.
Great presentation.
No, Thomas, that was really cool. That was great. A lot of fun too.
Okay, good.
It's the one fun part about this is you get the fire hose shot at you with ideas, and
wonderful.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a whole ton of stuff coming at you, and I particularly loved your comment about following your passion, because that's something I absolutely believe in. And kudos to you. I wanted to say something, but I didn't want to interrupt the flow of everything. But that was awesome. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that you're a man of passion yourself. I don't mean to steal anybody else's time. Tony, can you tell me a little bit more about you and what you do, or is now not the time? Maybe we'll touch base later.
We need to do that offline. There are a few people here who know, like Donnell and John and a couple of others, about my background and history, but I will give you my relevance to the discussion. I worked for 2 years for Paul Newman as his personal assistant. So there are a lot of things that you're talking about that I knew 30 years ago that aren't now.
Right.
You know, the industry has changed, the world has changed, how things get done has changed. And that's part of the reason why I was sitting there trying to think of brainstorming an idea. But you and I can sit there offline, get together on a call or a Zoom meeting where you can sit there and give me tips on how to fix my my banner and my my environment. And we can
however I can help. I'd
I
love
have
to.
some great ideas for your video. I was like, the thought came to me about the idea of doing a training video, and it's like how to invest in a movie and do it fun. Yeah, it's like, and put it out there for anybody. Yes, you know, it's like with the Ron Popeil. Yes, you can invest in a movie. You can be a movie investor.
Well, what I like about that, Tony, what I like about that a lot is that you also, Tom, your audience gets to see your end product. So there's multiple layers to that. So it's not just the information, but it's how it's presented, the format, the context, the flow. I think it'll draw people in. Tony, that you're a rock star, buddy.
Thanks.
You also really need another pitch deck that